Hey you all, I want to talk about long-term and short-term goals and how systems that reduce chaos can help us build a better future. So obviously, thinking in the long term is going to make our lives a lot better. On a personal level, this could look like planning for your financial future, right? Saving up money for a house, a car, a special trip with your significant other, or a college fund for your kids. That kind of long-term thinking can also apply to your health. Choosing to work out every day, do yoga, or eat better. These will have long-term benefits on your life. And on a societal scale, we could be being way better on our long-term interests by investing in greener energies, building structures that are built to last instead of cheap structures that are built just for profitability. When we look back to the Egyptian times, the pyramids are something that still stand today, and they were built thousands of years ago. But I feel like in the last 60 years, especially here in America, and I think broadly across all the world, we have become extremely consumerist. Instead of thinking about the long term, we've embraced short-term benefit. And it's addictive. Large companies will only think in horizons that do not, look at the long term or the next generation. They're just thinking about quarterly, yearly, and maybe, 10-year profit goals. They're not thinking about the environments that they're destroying or the pollutants that they're putting into the air. But I believe if we as a society and as an entire world want to have long-term success, want to survive as long as possible, adapt and evolve into something beautiful over the next, few million years, however long humanity lasts, then we must, as individuals and as societies, look at the long term instead of the short term. It used to be when you bought appliances that they would last 20 years or longer. You would have them for a good amount of time. When you bought that fridge, when you had your first kid, and by the time your kid went to college, that fridge was still running, that's pretty wild. That doesn't happen anymore. New appliances tend to break down way faster. And what happened was a shift. Companies understood that if they could build something that didn't last as long, they could sell the same product over and over again. And while there are a few companies that stand out that still make quality products, like Toyota, I have a Toyota Yaris, and that car runs great. I give it an oil change whenever it needs it, and it runs like a dream. So there are still companies that really build quality products and do extremely well in the market. Over the last few decades, there's been this big push of rampant consumerism. Let's make as many of this product as cheaply as possible, as fast as possible. Who cares if it breaks? I just want to make fucking money. And that's the issue. We're not looking at the long term, and the long term is what is important. Most of us are going to live to the average, I think, of 70-ish years old, if not longer. Technology is getting better, so we might even live up into our 120s. And especially if you're taking care of yourself, you might even live, longer at this current rate or whatever. Like, we're going to be living longer as individuals. And this is great. But that also means we're going to see society change. If you were born in the late 90s or early 2000s like I was, life has already changed a lot. Things have moved forward. We went from having the iPhone 1, like I grew up with a smartphone when I was 14, but I didn't see the smartphone until I was 14. I still used flip phones, BlackBerry was still a thing, and computers didn't run stuff really great. But over the last, 25 years almost for me, things have drastically changed. Artificial intelligence has skyrocketed. Your phone's cameras are amazing now. Computers run more efficiently. Video games look photorealistic. A lot has changed. And that's only for 25 years. What's the next 25 years going to look like? What's that going to look like when I'm 50? And then the next 25 when I'm 75? We have a long time. And it might feel short, but it is also long. So we need to be thinking as individuals about long-term goals. And like I gave at the beginning, those goals need to be your financial goals, your health goals, and what you want to do for your community and for your family and for your career. And as individuals, I think that's something that's really easy to do. We can all focus on that and focus on getting better. And that's awesome. But if society doesn't do that alongside with us, if corporations don't look at the long term, if politicians don't look at the long term, well, the world, no matter how well we do and push ourselves, might not become the most conducive environment for us. Because we're seeing rising inequality, rising wealth gaps, because companies have only focused on the short-term returns. Private equity firms will buy up companies, prop them up, and then sell them and let them go bankrupt. What kind of business model is that? How does that benefit everyday people? It doesn't. It only benefits a few people. Those short-term goals that some private equity and some companies do need to stop, because they're destroying the fabric of a healthy economy and of everyday people's lives. I'm a big believer that we do have a lot in our life that we can improve and make better through habits and knowledge, but I also believe that society has a large part to play as well. And our society currently has put in a lot of systems that'll make life way more difficult than they need to. The systems here in America that we have made around our lives and the economy are complex and chaotic. And from that chaos comes a lot of money for the people up top. Taxes is a great example. The government already knows how much you owe, but they allow a middleman to help you crunch the numbers that they already know, so that that middleman can make a ton of money. TurboTax, Intuit, H&R Block, they make billions of dollars off the tax industry when we don't even need them. But the middleman, Intuit, gets to make a ton of money from it and employ a ton of people. And it makes a complex system. And it sucks, because that system could be simpler. The same can go for public transport. Building more trains and bullet trains and metro lines makes cities better. It just does. Building more bike lanes and more ways for people to get around will invigorate your economies. Yet, we have politicians and people pushing for more car-centric cities, building a ton more highways. In the, I think, 1950s, and when the Highway Act came into effect, entire neighborhoods were bulldozed. Most of those neighborhoods being black neighborhoods or ethnically diverse neighborhoods. And those neighborhoods got destroyed, and they got literally, they were amazing before and doing so well financially, and the government came through and said, we're gonna build this highway. That happened here in California to the Sugar Hill and West Adams neighborhoods. They decided to build a highway right through them, and those neighborhoods went from some of the most prominent black neighborhoods when it came to wealth and power to some of the worst places to be in Los Angeles at that time, but just because the government decided to divide that neighborhood with a highway and kind of segregate the communities racially. See, complex systems create complex problems, and that's exactly what people in power want, because it divides us as the people and again makes them a ton of fucking money. So how can we as individuals and as a society break down these complex systems and make simpler ones? Life itself is chaos, in my opinion, but we have added so much extra chaos to life because a bunch of greedy people want to make money, and it's destroying our livelihoods, our society, and our economy. And something has to change, and I believe it will, because things like this can only go on so long, right? There has to be change, because this isn't healthy. We can't sustain this short-term mindset as a society as a whole, and we can't sustain short-term mindsets as individuals. Short-term mindsets lead to short-term lives. If we are constantly partying every night and getting drunk and high and using drugs, there's a good chance you might not live as long. But if you're taking care of yourself, being planned, taking care of your finances, your body, there's a good chance that your life, while there is a lot of chaos in the world in general, will be pretty good. Good systems create peace, and there's a lot of bad systems in play right now. And they are bad systems for the sake of being bad, so that people can benefit financially from them. So we as individuals need to get out and vote, create organizations, and do community work to make systems simpler, to benefit the collective. Because the thing is we must build a better society. I believe it is our duty as Gen Z, millennials, baby boomers, whoever wants to be a part of it, to make a society that has long-term goals in mind, where we are putting forth investments, infrastructure, and agriculture for the next generation and the next generation and the next. If AI and technology pops off like it's supposed to, we could be living way longer, like into our 120s, maybe forever. That's crazy. And we need to build systems so that that is spread to everyone, not just a small percentage of society. We need to make sure when technological booms happen that there are systems in place that make a more fair and equitable, spread of those technologies and benefits to all of society. We have a role to play, and that is to make these systems better. And it starts with me and you. It starts with maybe the habit of reading a book every day, meditating, or working out. It starts with taking care of your finances, educating yourself on history and other people, and gaining more empathy for those around you. And then we need to start holding accountable the corporations and the politicians who help keep the bad systems in place. Because thankfully, we live in a democracy for the time being, and that means we can change things through our votes, through our voices, and through our collective power. I truly am thankful for you guys, and I believe we can create better systems where peace is in the forefront, where long-term goals are in the forefront, where the next generations get to benefit. Because sadly, the last generation, the baby boomers, they weren't looking out for us. They were looking out for themselves, and they got greedy. And it's our job to fix that. I appreciate you all, and I can't wait to see what future we will build together. Peace.